Peter? Jim, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
You seem to
Okay,
be
we're going to move
focused.
to our, yeah. We're going to move to our first agenda item, which is open forum. Anybody from the commission have anything for open forum? Seeing none. Carol, what do you have?
Just a couple of things. I didn't have a chance to get this on the agenda, but I think we'll probably be talking about it in the future anyway. And I think depending on the status of things, I might put it on your next agenda. But the subdivision, the open space subdivision for Hartford Road has been filed with the planning board. And there is an expansion of the existing crossing that will fill wetlands and have wetland replication requirements. So I want to get you those plans so that if you do have comments early in the planning board phase, you could communicate that to them. And I also just wanted to let you know, I received a forest cutting plan for some forest cutting up at MIT. And also that we got a notice from National Grid that they are going to be performing some maintenance work that is exempt from the Wetlands Act and the bylaw. Off of Princeton Road, there's an existing easement and they have to do some work on one of the structures there that's in a wetland. So they'd be using the mats and other things to minimize any impact. Let's see, I think, oh, and also I just wanted to let you know that Hill Orchard, I think, is opening this weekend if everything has gone according to plan. So spread the word.
Okay, great. Okay, any items for open forum from the audience? Don't see anything. Okay, we'll move on to our first agenda item, which is the public hearing for Parmar 11 Moon Way, RDA. This is a legal notice under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Non-Zoning Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 171. The Westwood Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. via remote participation to consider requests for determination of actability of Deepak Parmar for the construction of an 8x12 shed within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland at 11 Moon Way. This is map 41, parcel 2, lot 4. Is Mr. Parmar here? Yes, he is.
Yes. Yep, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. So this is my first experience ever, so I don't know how to proceed it, but I'm requesting to install a small 8x12 shed under my property. And yes, it is, and I have behind this, I have a small Warner pool, and that is request to, grant access or the permission to build a small shed. Mainly, I will be storing, my wife has been doing a lot of vegetable garden. So this mainly used to store all the vegetable garden related stuff when we take out in the fall.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason, sir, why that corner is where you're planning, where you'd like to put the shed? Because as you mentioned in your note, the vernal pool behind your property is absolutely the closest to that point. You couldn't get any closer and be on your own property to the vernal pool. Is there something driving you to that corner?
No, that's actually, that corner is the farthest from the Warner pool, if you look at the map. And that corner is also because there is a fence from the neighbors. So I would like to, use it, that space, and that space, that area is also a not, in the sense, it's kind of like a flooded, so I don't use that land that often, and I don't, and it's also near to my vegetable garden where I have put together, so it's just for easy convenience, but no particular reason. It's just, it's, I would, because there is a fence around there, so I would like to be close to the neighbor's fence, so that Matt, can also
if you could you call up the GIS and put on the the wetlands and vernal pool overlays? 'Cause I think it's
Yep.
pretty much closest to that corner.
Jim, I will just bear with
Okay,
me a
thank
couple minutes.
While Matt's doing that, I went out to see the site this week or I guess last week. I did measure to the edge of the vegetated wetland to be 23 feet. So it also didn't meet the setback to the bylaw.
Peter, I think Marilyn has a question.
Yeah, Merrill?
Is this on sonotubes? What is the floor of this shed?
A floor of the shed would be a wooden also.
But is
Probably
it,
it's
what
on
is
the
it on?
block.
Is it on sonotubes? Is it on cinder blocks?
Sorry, I'm not following the question.
How is your
So,
floor put in? How is your building put in?
so we will be putting a kind of like a cement block, the 4 cement block to put the shed, and underneath is the gravel, just to make sure the mouse and other stuff they don't go inside. But I'm not going to put like a cement or a like a cement flooring. Like it would be still be a wood flooring, the 4 blocks to put the shed, and underneath it will be a gravel, little bit of gravel just to protect the base from mouse and other animals come inside.
Marilyn?
So that means that that's porous. What are you planning to store in there? Would you have any fertilizers? Would you have any fuel for lawnmowers? My concern is it leaching out from underneath if you don't have something like a cement floor.
If it's necessary, I can put a cement floor if you guys recommend it. And I haven't thought about this thing. Like if you think that okay, put a cement block that will prevent something, I don't mind putting that. So whatever works for.
No.
Actually,
I'm open to that.
Yeah, we
It
don't
just-
need a cement floor. What we're
No.
looking for is that you don't store any types of hazardous chemicals in that shed.
Okay. No, I'm not planning to store anything as I mentioned. I will be mostly storing like vegetable fence or the pot or the I have a lot of stuff related to putting the vegetable gardens like the wooden blocks. I have at least like 30 or 40 vegetable pots that I will be removing. I'll be putting it there. I will be and some garden tools.
Okay.
I have like a 2.5 car garage where I store my lawnmower, so I don't think so I will be moving it. And I will be in a winter, I will be using it there. So
Okay.
no reason to put my snow blower in that shed. And absolutely no fertilizer. Usually, we in our lakeside meadow we have the association or they take care of putting a fertilizer. So I don't even buy my own fertilizer. The Lakeside Meadow Association takes care of putting a fertilizer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So Peter,
Thank you.
Yep.
it's my understanding right now that, that closest point of the shed to the vernal pool, I thought was what, 13 feet? Is that what I read?
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
if
think
that's,
it needs to be moved farther back.
yeah, I'm just thinking he needs to be at least in compliance with our minimum setback that we would
Right.
have. And then leave it at that. I mean, granted, he has a lot of lawn areas that have, been previously disturbed. And I can understand where he might want to set his shed near his neighbor's fence, but I think he can pull it away from the resource area and still have it on that side and use his neighbor's fence as, a barrier or what have you between his shed and the neighbor. I mean, I don't think it has to be pushed all the way back to the edge of the property to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yep, I agree.
And this is Margaret. I would agree as well. I think one of the important things about that no disturb zone is while the applicant is going to do all the right things about what is stored and not stored in the shed, some future homeowner, we have no control over what that person decides to store in it. And that's why we would want it set, set outside the no disturb zone.
Right, yep.
I mean, other than that, I have no issues.
Yeah, so we really want you to move that shed closer to the house.
Close to the house.
Yeah, we want
Yeah,
you to move it away from the back corner. It's too close to the vernal pool.
That's fine, but how far that you want me to push it back?
Can you go 30 feet?
30 feet.
He needs to be
Yeah,
30
so
feet from the resource area.
30 feet would do it.
Yeah, so the place that I'm planning to put when Carol came and measured it, was a 23 feet, so it's just a 7 feet away from the thing. So it's fine, if you that you guys recommend, I don't mind moving it 7 feet further.
So that's fine.
Okay,
It's fine.
yep.
Is it 7 feet though? Because I thought he was within 13 feet of the vernal pool.
So it was 23 feet to the edge of the vegetated wetland.
It's not a 13 feet, it's a 23 feet.
Yeah, I measured 23 feet to the edge of the vegetated wetland in the field, the closest point.
Okay,
So 30 feet is fine.
yeah.
Okay. So we're understood. You're all set with that. You're going to move that away from that fence?
Yeah, that's fine. I can move. I can put it at like a 30 feet. That's not an issue.
Okay.
It's just a
All
7
right.
feet difference. And I would like to put it at 23 feet, but again, it's just a small shed, and we are talking about only 7 feet. That's fine. I can push it then. And,
Okay.
No issue.
Appreciate that.
That's
Okay,
fine.
great. Okay. So,
Can
I have a
someone? Because can I ask this question? Because
Yeah.
I don't know the exact 30 feet. So I really would like someone, if it's possible, to again come and say, here is the 30 feet. Because I don't want to
Okay.
put it somewhere
Sure.
and, you guys come back and say, hey, no, this is not 30 feet, and move out the, shed. So I really would
Okay.
like someone to come and say, yeah, this is where you should put it. I don't
Okay,
know,
well-
Carol came and we measured it, but still it was all approximation.
Yeah, we'll have Carol come out and she can come out and mark it off for you, okay? Is that all right, Carol? Carol?
Yes, that's
Yep,
fine.
agreed.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
It was not really an approximation. I didn't flag the wetland while I was there, but I did measure it
Yeah.
to the edge of the wetland.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
approximately 30 feet. That's good. Just show him where he can put it.
I can do that.
Okay. Okay, any comments from the audience on this? I just lost my video.
Oh, you and your video.
I know, it's unbelievable. This is the only program I ever have problems with on conference calls. Okay, so, seeing no other questions, can I have a motion for a negative determination with conditions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes,
Margaret?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Peter? Yes.
What about Marilyn?
Okay. Oh, Marilyn, I'm sorry, I missed you. Sorry.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
second,
All in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Eric?
yes,
Margaret?
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Peter, yes. Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a continuation of a public hearing for Franklin 31 Bridge Street. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see
Okay.
me?
No.
So, Chris, have you been able to get anything done in the last 2 weeks?
No, I haven't done anything in the last 2 weeks. I had a family issue when I went to the Cape and spent some time with my 90-year-old mother, and we had issues. She's not as steady on her feet. So I have dealt with family things, and I might be dealing with that over the rest of the summer, off and on. So, but I am back, and I will start attending to some more things in the cleanup. So I'll talk to Carol this next week and see getting some plans set up. I did talk to the asphalt people. They really haven't been doing anything over on the I don't know, the large parking area except parking equipment. There hasn't been really anything going on over there. We cleaned up a lot of it, and I finally got some money in so I can clean up the pile of debris we have there, and I can get that hauled out in the next week or so. So hopefully that'll be taken care of shortly. And by then I hopefully have from the asphalt company where they would prefer to put in their bins for the material. I did speak with them over the last few days since I've been back.
Okay.
If we can just move it from the next meeting, I hopefully will have much more information, better update by then.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. So can I have a motion to continue this to August 12th?
So move, what time?
No time.
No time.
Oh, I forgot, sorry. Okay,
That's okay.
so move.
Second.
All in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Margaret? Ann?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Peter? Yes.
I
Thank
think
you,
this
Chris.
is my last time delaying it.
All right. Thank you.
I'm all out of delay votes.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a continuation of a public hearing for the Westwood Tennis Center. They've asked for a continuation to 8/12. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So
Peter,
moved.
can I just add,
Yep.
I did get a revised plan today that showed the wetland revisions, and I think if you're okay, I'll start to draft an order. I was waiting to do that.
Sure.
And the only thing I didn't really hear back on is what the distance around the building they were going to propose, but I could draft it without that number in it so far, you know?
Okay,
I don't have trouble with that.
yep, sounds good. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a continuation of a public hearing for, oh, did I continue that?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so can I have a motion to continue it?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And Marilyn?
Yes.
Peter, yes. Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a continuation of a public hearing for Bergeron, 65 Powers Road. I have to recuse myself because I am in a butter as part of the Vinewood Trust, and Eric will conduct this hearing.
Thank you, Peter. Anybody here tonight for 65 Powers Road?
Yes, sir. Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering.
Evening.
Evening. So I'll give you a quick recap of the project. Just for the record, Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering, here on behalf of Bergeron Machine. We were before the commission several meetings ago relative to a proposed 2,000 square foot building addition off the backside of an existing structure at 65 Powers Road. The proposed structure is intended to be placed in an area that's previously paved. and work will entail the construction of the reconstruction extension of a loop configuration parkway along the backside of the building. The work is intended to be performed within an existing gravel pad area with no additional tree clearing required as part of the construction. Since the last time we've met, we have received comments back from engineering department and have had conversations with the planning board as well. And I'll briefly go over the changes that have been made since then. We are currently showing the requested snow storage areas throughout the site. Primarily, these locations will be located along the edge of the parking lot and near the front edge of the property. We're also including the location of the proposed dumpster pad, which is located along the, if you will, the western portion of the site outside the 100-foot buffer zone. This will be enclosed so that any loose debris or whatnot doesn't inadvertently escape the dumpster between pickups. There's currently an existing container truck that's located within the tree line. It's currently being utilized by the applicant for additional storage, but it's intended to keep being used. As such, we're proposing to relocate that dumpster or that container to be adjacent to the building and outside the buffer zone. It's the applicant's intent that eventually that will be removed and discontinued with the new addition. But in the interim, so we don't have to go back into the wetland or into the buffer zones and disturb vegetation, say a few years after everything's said and done, we'll just relocate it outside the buffer zone and near the driveway so that it can be removed easily. One of the concerns that was raised by the engineering department was relative to recharge capacity on the site. Currently, there is a reduction in the overall impervious area, which aids in natural recharge on the property and stormwater management requirements. But the engineering department requested that we install a infiltration trench along the outer edge of the proposed pavement. During the last meeting, that was a velocity mitigation gravel strip, if you will. But at this time, we're proposing to install a 2-foot wide, 3-foot deep crushed stone infiltration trench to allow for some additional natural recharge on the property. And in addition to that, concern was raised by the commission about further encroachment into that tree line because we're relocating the driveway a little bit closer to that wood line. So along the immediate edge of the wood line, we're proposing to place 1-yard boulders at about a 15-foot interval. That way,
I think there's
that way it prevents any kind of further encroachment into that woodland area and prevents any snow from being pushed into that area. That's the general change that we did. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Comments from the commission?
I can't figure out where it is.
Yeah, somebody has their microphone hot.
It should be muted.
Just mute it, yeah.
I'm not sure. I think Matt's trying to work with one of the panelists. It
Okay.
could be that that's happening.
All right. My concern is that that rear edge with the boulders that are supposed to be 15 feet apart. I still think that's going to be an enticing area to dump snow, sand, salt that gets picked up along the back side of the building. But there's no way they're going to push it all the way from that northeast corner all the way over towards some area behind or near the dumpster and then curve it around the dumpster just to put it into the snow storage area on the west side. So I'm okay with the east and the west side, but that north side, either it's got to be a more solid wall with rocks, large boulders closer together, or perhaps something like a what do you call it, a roadside barrier of some sort to prevent pushing anything beyond the edge of the road.
Margaret, you have comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say that if the purpose is to keep the trail from being plowed beyond the limit of disturbance, I really want to see the boulders closer together than 15 feet.
Well, there I have 2 commission members with the same issue. So something you guys could address, tighten it up.
We can condition it to be 10 feet apart. That way, That way it's around, maximum width of a truck is about 8 feet. So at 10 feet, it greatly limits the ability for anything to get pushed inadvertently via vehicle further back. So I would request perhaps even 10 feet would be acceptable to the commission if all possible.
And I would say, you know, you've got somebody using a bobcat to move material around. A bobcat could get through 10 feet quite easily. I mean, our goal is that nothing goes through there, and you know, I'd kind of be happier seeing
What do
the
you want,
boulders.
5 feet?
No, I would say, you know, 8 feet apart. That should really keep, or maybe you take the 15 feet and plug one right in the middle.
Closer together, rock boulders or guardrail type thing, something that's going to prevent intrusion past that line.
Yeah.
Carol, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I had a question for Chris. When that storage container is removed, I can't really recall whether it was vegetated underneath it. And I didn't know whether it needs to be stabilized in some manner because the erosion control doesn't go around the back of that.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, that area is pretty much fill from the original construction back in the 70s. I'm a big believer in let nature take its course. We're not performing any significant earth moving in that area. And from my experience on that site, as soon as we move that and open up that soil, nature's going to reclaim that pretty quickly. So I would think that would be the process. If that's okay with the commission. If not, we can put down some kind of a wildlife seed mix or something like that in that area.
Well, I think we could put a condition that allows for one or the other if we feel that it needs to be overseeded with something native. I don't remember that if there's invasives. I think we wouldn't want invasives to take hold there. I don't think there were a lot of invasives on that site, if I'm remembering it correctly, though. But that would just be one concern. I guess the other thing is just to let you know, typically and I don't know what you use for the details on the erosion control, but typically we like to see, or I like to see the straw wattle in front of the silt fence, just so that it can be managed a little bit more easily. So okay. I would want to make that modification in the order as well.
That's perfectly, so that's okay, yeah.
Any other comments from the commission before I open it up to the audience? Questions from the audience?
I don't see any hands.
I don't see any. So next step, do we need any revisions to this plan, or other than, you know, seeing them tighten up the boulders, you know, on the edge of disturbance there?
Would you like to see that in the revised plan, or make it a condition that they submit a revised plan? Jim and Margaret, who were looking for that.
I'd be okay with a condition that put it in the as-built or a revised plan, either way. But I think if we make it nice and clear in the order that we want them 10 feet apart or less.
Margaret thinks.
My thought would be I would want to have both the plan and the order to be consistent, so that there's no question about you know, about somebody goes with one and it happens to be the less restrictive.
So Chris, can you get us a revised plan within the next week so that I can work on that and make sure I reference the right plan?
I don't see an issue with that. It's definitely doable.
Okay.
So I'll update the plans to show a 10-foot or less spacing when you're boulders along the edge of the roadway.
Okay, and then since you're going to update if you're going to update the plan, can you change that the erosion control detail?
I thought Matt was looking at it. So you want the silt fence on the construction side of the straw wattle, or the
the straw wattle on the construction
side.
Okay, I got you. All right.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Other changes or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing until August 12th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Jim,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
I'm in favor as well. So the meeting's been continued until August 12th. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a continuation of a public hearing for GMH Realty LLC, 124 Main Street. And I think we left it that Carol was going to do a site visit.
Yeah, we had a site visit yesterday. A few different people who were on that were attendees, that are from the neighborhood who were on the meeting, and Matt Waterman and Leslie Thomas were also at the site visit, along with Steve Erickson from North Environmental. And, you know, the purpose was to go and see where the stream channel was located, because it was felt from the photographs to be sure that they were capturing the stream bed in all photos that they had sent. So that was the purpose. And I think that on the east side, the photos, many of the photos were showing wetland area and not showing the stream bed. And we ended up, Margaret was there too as well. So actually Margaret might have some other comments. We walked up the stream bed and then sort of along the edge of the stream for the length of the project. And as of yesterday, there was no flow, but we are still in a drought.
Comments from the commission?
Yeah, I'm still confused as to which way to look at this.
Yeah.
So, and that was part of the reason that I told Carol I wanted to go on the site visit, to actually, to see the stream. You know, there was some focus on the center line of it. It's a very clearly identifiable stream bed, the entire length. The edge of the, you know, the bank is very clearly defined. You know, so I would have expected pictures to have showed that clearly defined stream bed, and a lot of the pictures do not. Part of the stream bed is kind of, it's level almost the entire length. There's one stretch where it's a steeper grade with rocks. Much of the level stream bed has, you know, I guess it's pebbled, so you can see the rocks that are on the bottom of the stream bed. In other places, the stream bed is actually very thick, soggy muck. One of the abutters was walking through it and her boots were sinking down 2 to 3 inches in the muck. There were places where I saw ponded water, in some cases a couple inches deep. And there was one place that when I stepped down on what looked like just ground, there was water that was kind of expelled out from under my foot to the side. So, you know, there wasn't flow, but it also looked like it was still very saturated soils, I guess is what I would say as a summary.
So Peter, I don't know, there's, I know Paul Alphin's on for this project. I think Matt Waterman's here, and I'm not sure if Leslie also wanted to speak. So maybe they wanted to add more. And then, as I said, a lot of the neighbors are, you know, on and probably wanted to say something.
Yeah. Paul or Matt?
Sure. Paul Alphin, counsel for GMH Realty LLC. Thank you for the opportunity. I guess we're at the point where the commission needs to determine whether the evidence that was submitted is sufficient to have the designation made that this is an intermittent stream. I understand that the photographs weren't perfect. I understand that Carol went out there for purposes of trying to reconcile what's on the earth with what was shown in the photographs. My understanding that Leslie wasn't allowed to explain all of the location of the photographs. It's my understanding that she wasn't allowed to enter some of the properties. I don't know if that hampered Carol's analysis or not. But be that as it may, I guess the question we have is whether the lack of exactness with the photographs is going to hamper the commission's ability to make a decision.
So I would say that the photographic evidence does not provide the documentation required in the Wetlands Protection Act to give the commission sufficient evidence to call it intermittent.
Now, I understand that the photographs don't meet the technical requirements. The question is whether the photographs, be that as they may, whether they are sufficient for the commission to be able to make a determination, or whether the commission feels that it has to see new photographs outside of a drought period in order to make a determination regarding the stream.
Yeah, I understand that. My recommendation is that that is the case. You would need to have additional photographs outside of a drought period.
Okay, and experience tells me that the commission will take that counsel, and so I don't want to push the commission members.
Yeah. Jim, you got a comment?
If we're going to go down that route, the pictures have to show on a plan exactly where they're taken. They should be along the stream bed. They should be from the same angle, from the same direction, so we can compare backdrops from each photograph to prove to ourselves that they're of the same location. And they shouldn't just be one end and the other. We've got to have a series of them, because it's sounding like this is possibly flowing in some places and maybe it dries in others. I really don't know. We got to have that kind of detail. Got to have that kind of detail in order to evaluate all the pictures. And I think we already have. Do we have the data, Carol, that was checked by engineering on the watershed area?
Right. So engineering did do that, but that is not one of the criteria that you can use to determine, to overcome the presumption that it's perennial.
Okay, just the photographs
It
and
is a
running
very
dry.
small watershed.
I think it's important, though, and collectively thinking about this watershed as a whole. I know you can't use it in the determination, but I think the board, the commission, can take that into consideration because it is such a small watershed. I think it's an important factor to be considered.
I think if the commission's unable to make a decision because they don't have all the evidence, I think what we'd like to do is to continue the part of the request regarding the reclassification of the stream to a later date, probably at a point after which we don't have a drought situation and we can take new photographs, update the plan, get the materials to the board. It's anybody's guess when we won't have a drought situation, but I'm thinking maybe if we continue to the last meeting in September or the first meeting in October on that matter, we should be safe. And if we still have a drought, then we all have a serious problem, but we could also further extend if necessary. We also have before the board a request for a delineation of wetland, and hopefully there's no concern with that, and perhaps the board could act on agreeing with a delineation of wetland and just continue the matter of the classification.
So I can say that I'm in agreement with the revised plans that as they now show the edge of the vegetated wetland, but from an administrative procedure with the order of resource area delineation, we really can't close it and issue an order unless we're making our determination also on the stream. We can't only issue for one thing because it is an order that we'd be issuing. So we could continue it.
You'd have to reapply. If we do this and approve the resource area delineation and not the stream, you'd have to refile just and do a new public hearing for the delineation.
If you closed the hearing and made a determination that you weren't in a position to make a change in the classification regarding the stream, but you could make a decision regarding the wetland. That would work, and we'd have to refile as regard to the stream. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Matt, do you see any concern with having them make that classification now and us refiling once we don't have a drought situation?
Unless, the only thing I would add is just, unless the commission would continue the hearing until September. As a whole, I don't know what value we have. I think everyone's in agreement with the wetlands and keeping the hearing open. I don't think there's any issues with that unless you think differently, Paul. I'm not trying to
No,
complicate.
I'll take your advice, and I guess what we're requesting is a continuation of the hearing until the last meeting in September or the first meeting in October.
Okay, that would be September 23rd is the last one in September.
Peter, do you want to take some public comment before you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I will, but I just want to make sure, is that date going to work for you if we continue to the 23rd?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
That's comfortable. It will rain between now and then.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll open this up to the audience. I know Joseph Wissell is there. He's got his hand raised. Joseph, can you hear us?
You okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So it sounds like we're doing another round of photos. One thing I'd like to ask, we did some research on this. The Mass DEP Wetlands Enforcement Manual Guide for site visits states that any evidence that was taken on private property isn't admissible. And so what we'd like to ask if any of these new pictures are being taken that require that person to be on any of our properties, we would like permission before they enter.
I'm sorry, I missed that. You like what?
We would like them to request permission to be on our property in order to take these pictures.
Okay.
A number of these pictures would take in showing like back windows of some of the properties. It's just an invasion of privacy, and it doesn't fall in line with the guidelines from DEP.
Okay. Matt, Paul, you hear that?
Well, I hear that. Does that mean we might be denied access to property, that a surveyor would not be able to come on the property, or is it just you want prior notice and make sure that we're not photographing private matters?
I would have to, I don't know if I could deny that, right? But I do, at a minimum, I do think that we are the right to make sure that we're scheduling it and that we're giving you the time and knowledge that you're on our property.
Oh, okay, I respect that.
I'll reach out to the DEP and find out.
Well, if you want prior notice, that's fine. If you could provide contact information to Carol so that we have a means to reach all of you before we enter the property, we'd be happy to do that.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Jennifer Vasella, you have something to add?
Mrs. Fazzella, you're muted.
Oh, am I on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask, abutters received a letter notifying them about the ANRAD and these meetings. There's a whole list of abutters that somebody already has. Was that Land Tech that has the letters or the addresses for those letters? Could you provide those? Because I think you have the most comprehensive, complete list.
I have the list. It doesn't have emails or phone numbers. I can try looking through the phone book and.
Oh, all right. I didn't realize that.
Could circulate a document, and if you want to add to it, if you know any numbers, I could certainly start it and email it to Carol, and she could forward it. I don't want to make busy work for Carol, but if I had your email, I could email it directly to you and Joe. I don't have a problem.
Okay, I can look for your email, Matt, and I'll send you my contact info.
Yeah, and I can set up a list, and then if you, whatever I don't have, maybe you have some better information.
Yep. So my other point is sometimes builders want relief from the Rivers Protection Act and want to just observe the 100-foot wetlands boundary because it saves them money to, say, put the septic at the back of the property. But in this case, if you're locating the septic in the back of the property and the historical house is right up front and the units are supposed to be attached to it, the planned units, putting that septic field way back there is actually going to cost you money. You're putting it further away from your structures. I'm curious about that because it seems almost backwards.
I think you're getting beyond the scope of this meeting. We're not discussing anything about the development at this point. We're just discussing the wetlands delineation and the stream. We can't get into what he wants to do with the property at this point. At some point he's gonna refile before us a notice of intent, and at that time, you can ask those types of questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
That's if they have to be in the buffer zone of the resource area. Hopefully the development will be designed so they don't have to come to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah. Maybe not. Who knows? Who knows?
I
Okay.
did want to just add another comment on the stream photographs. I think the photographs that were taken at just the two ends of the property are also not necessarily as helpful as going throughout the stream, because even before the drought, we were seeing flow in certain places, and it may be possible that some of the stream is not perennial, but where the flow continues downstream, we want to make sure we're getting that point.
Yeah, no, understood.
Okay.
Around here.
I'm sorry. Joseph, you have another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Carol said. I think it's important that, from the last meeting, what Leslie and Matt stated was that most of the construction is outside of the barrier, and lot 4 and 5 is the only one that's actually going to have anything within the barrier. So wouldn't it make sense to have pitches behind those lots where they're actually looking to go within the barrier?
So I guess I would just say, from our standpoint, if they're asking us to determine where the stream is perennial and where it's intermittent, I think we would like to see it throughout the project site, not just behind those lots.
Yeah, all right, I get that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Whoop. Okay, I just lost my webcam again. Any other questions, Matt, on there? I can't see it.
Mrs. Fazella has her hand raised. I'm not sure if it was from previously.
Sorry, that's, yeah.
It is. Okay. All right, so we're good? So we're going to continue this till September 23rd. Can I have a motion to that effect?
Second.
All in favor, Eric?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And Peter, yes. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Yep. Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is the continuation of a public hearing for the Byrne Family Irrevocable Trust, 54 Elm Road. And Carol, you were going to go back out there?
Yes, and Nicole is on, if not Steve, I'm not sure who's on for the family, but I did go out and we measured a couple of locations. The closest point to the edge of the bank of the pond was 23 feet to the closest corner of the shed. And then the back was, I guess, about 32 feet.
Okay. So, do you think the shed could be moved farther away, or do you think it's right there?
I think, well, so if you saw some of the information that they presented, I mean, there are other spots, but not without difficulty, I guess is really the bottom line. The picnic canopy has been cemented in so that it can not blow away in the wind. Then there's some trees right behind it, you know, so they would, I mean, there's certainly places if they had to bring in equipment to move it, you know, that they could be moved further away, but it's not as, it's not, I guess, a simple thing.
Yeah, okay. Comments from the commission?
Unmute yourself, Jim.
Can't hear you. Jim, we can't hear you.
Is that the picnic area that's cemented in, Carol, that you can see on that right-hand photograph?
Yeah, he's getting it up again. Yes.
Okay. Okay, yes, it is. All right, I can see it from there. So in that photograph, it looked as if the shed could be moved towards the position where the photographer was standing. And would that move it farther away from the pond? Can we get up to 30 feet? Because I mean, we just made another person move his planned location to 30 feet. We made somebody else move up on Callista Terrace. We had them move their shed off of property by a few, because it was on encroaching by a few feet. So we have had people move sheds to comply with the consistency that we're trying to apply across town.
Yes, I think you're right. You could, there are other places that it could be moved. It just would be more difficult. Then it's not as straightforward as a vacant, you know, grass lot, just because of some of the things that are already there.
I'd like to keep it at the 30-foot distance where we've been trying to maintain that throughout town.
I'd have to agree with Jim.
Yeah,
I agree with Jim.
it should be moved, right?
I would agree as well, because one of my concerns is long-term. We understand what the shed is being used for today, but in the long term, it can be used for storing fuel for boats, other things, and we really do not want things that would be hazardous to the lake to be stored that close.
Could I speak for a minute, board?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'd like to answer Margaret's question right there. We don't keep anything flammable in there. We do not plan to. I mean, like we said, this has been here since 15, where none of that has been stored there. Simply, it's kids' juice boxes, floats, you know, plastic forks and knives, just stuff that we use for the picnic area and stuff when we gather there. We're there 3 months out of the year. This is not a year-round establishment. It's something where, you know, we understand your concerns about that completely. We've been on this lake since 1959, this property in particular. So we do respect and understand everything about Nabnasset Lake, and we have watched it change quite a bit over the past years. And to address Jim's questions with the 30 feet as well, if you shifted it back, I mean, I'm sure you people are familiar with the Nab Lake area and the building lot sizes. We also have a NIA beach, which is right next to us. So the parking is absolutely terrible, especially during the summer months and the only months that we are there. That is our parking area, which is actually why this lot was purchased years ago, because we did own 2 other houses on the end of Elm Road. And back in 1959 or 60, my grandfather purchased it for the use of parking being the main issue, and secondary for a boat launch, you know, in the beginning of the season and the end. So if we were to move it, you know, first off, I'd like to say we're going to disrupt the landscape quite a bit, bringing in the machinery you would have to bring in to move something like this. As Carol and I discussed, it's on precast sonotubes. And also another thing is, I'd like to point this out immensely. There's new construction homes there that are far closer to the water than 30 feet. And I do understand the previous laws of existing structures fall under the old guidelines. But, you know, this is a location where my parents are 70 years old. It's a place where family gathers 3 months out of the year. We totally understand the hazardous material and stuff like that, which is nothing of our intent to be kept there. It never has and never will. The environment's important to all of us. Clearly, I have small children. My youngest isn't born yet. I have a 1-year-old and my son turned 4 the other day. So safety is a huge thing that's our priority. And one thing else I'd like to call out that, it's not really something I care to bring up with the board, but I'm going to. I might add that this party filing the complaint was not by a conscious person doing a civil duty by any sense at all. It is a person that actually has a personal vendetta with the family. It has been an issue of harassment. I actually have a restraining order against this neighbor. It has been issued by the Air District Court. He's tried to drag me through Superior Court, other venues, false information, all because he really doesn't like that trampoline that the small children from ages 3 years old till 9 years old play on 3 months out of the year. This man has been arrested twice for criminal harassment towards our family. He's vandalized our granite, surveying markers 3 times where my family's had to pay 3 different surveyors to come out again and do it until he knocks them out again. And I just simply want to stress the fact this is not anyone doing a good deed or a concern, because he's been there since 2013. And, now all of a sudden he's reached out to the town of Westford, almost 100 emails, being the city manager, health department, building department, and everything else. And now the courts are looking into this. It's because it's his new venue of harassment towards our family, where the courts have denied him and actually have him as the one doing all the harm. And this is his new venue to go through, motions of as if he's a concerned neighbor. But by any means, folks, I'd like to stress that where it is where the old changing shed was years and years back. My family did go to the building department and spoke with the previous commissioner, where we understood now that we've been informed that, he should have sent us to conservation. But my parents are 70 years old. They went about the best way they knew to check for permission where it's under 120 square feet. And again, this is just simply a vindictive act from a neighbor that has been nothing but a harassing and quite frankly, scary person to our family. And I just hope that the board can maybe understand where I'm coming from and understand this is a little venue used 3 months out of the year. I think Carol would agree with me that where it is positioned right now is probably the best area. And as she said, one corner is 32 feet from the water, the other is 23 feet, the way that it's shaped, because it's not a straight line. And, it's just, we really can't afford to lose any parking because my parents come, my sister, her husband usually comes from work, myself, we have just enough space to squeeze our cars in there. And again, the other area to push back, and we're only talking 7 feet here. And I do understand you guys are trying to set up a strict guideline from moving forward standpoint, but I wish you guys could please understand that we have been here since 1960, and it's a beautiful looking place. It looks symmetrical where it is. We don't want to disrupt any landscape. And, it's just, if you guys could really help us out on this, it would be more than appreciative. And again, parking is such an issue down on Elm Road. If you're familiar with the area, it's every inch of parking we have is seriously a key element that we do need.
So are you telling me there was a previous structure on this exact site?
Years ago, when my father was a child and up until, his later years, there was an old changing shed where they kept the water skis and stuff like that. I honestly don't know exactly how big or what it was, but you know how it was back in the day. It's a little dwelling was there for storage. And obviously at that time, I'm assuming it might've been for the boats and stuff like that as well. But that was kind of why they focused that area, because that's the flattest area of the lot. And then obviously, like Carol said, the trees in the other areas are just, we don't want to cut anything down. We love the greenery, we love it all, and we enjoy the privacy that it does give us. And we're hoping that we could, obviously keep all of that.
Okay, what do you guys want to do with it?
I think we need to be consistent. I appreciate what this gentleman is saying, but the shed is supposed to be something that's easily moved. And, now I'm hearing that this shed is on sonotubes and this and that, and isn't so easily moved. Much more like a permanent structure, which is really not the intent. So I'd be inclined to have him meet the setback requirement. I totally appreciate what the gentleman has said. But I understand what Jim and Margaret say too, and we're trying to be consistent with how we, apply our setback regulations.
Eric, I'd like to just, rebuttal to that one. If they're precast sonotubes, they weren't sonotubes that were dug into the ground to disturb anything like that. It's the standard precast ones you would purchase that say.
It's put in place, but it's not like it's just sitting on a cinder block and the cinder blocks are moving around. You got a precast concrete sonotube, you pour it in place or whatever, those things are sitting in the ground. I mean, it's more of a permanent structure than I would think, as opposed to like if it was sitting on cinder block.
No, sir, it technically is a cinder block, but in the form of a sonotube for structural purposes. Okay. It's not drilled into the ground or poured into the ground. It simply sits on top of the ground for a leveling purpose. Okay. As a cinder block, just a little more sturdy is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I can appreciate that, but for consistency on how we apply the regs, I think you have to appreciate our position.
And absolutely, sir, I obviously do. You guys are the board and we have the utmost respect for you. We just worked with you all on the wall we have on 3 Lower Road. And I think Kara will tell you that we were, more than helpful and willing to do whatever needed to be done. We learned a lot of stuff too about conservation. Because again, we might say we're a little bit old school and where we've been around for such a long time that, the times change and the peoples don't. And that's where I'm saying, it's 7 foot mark, but those trees fall exactly where the 7 foot mark would be. And then, like I said earlier, to the other spot to accommodate your 30-foot rule would be in the middle of the parking area. And honestly, sir, we're trying to stay as far away from Randy O'Neill as we possibly can, because this has been a very stressful 7-year ongoing issue where, unfortunately, where the courts have been involved and everything else and the arrests have been made, it's really just a vindictive, spiteful action that he's taking, and there's really no purpose of good intent.
No, and I can appreciate all that, but I can't take that into consideration when I'm trying to make a determination. That kind of falls outside, my envelope.
Understood, but like I said, sir, if we move it to where the trees aren't to accommodate the 30, which would be far more than 30 by going past the trees, we'd be probably more like 45, I'd say, that it's directly in where the parking of the vehicles is, and it's slanted, but more or less the main thing is we're going to lose parking that we don't have due to the NIA beach and other stuff in that area. It's just a very congested area, and parking is an issue, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that. So I'm just asking for a little forgiveness on the 7 feet. And I don't mean to sound argumentative by any means. It's
you're not. You're not at all. You're making your passion plea, and I appreciate that. And you have that ability. So, definitely want to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that.
Oh, for sure.
I have a question. Would it be possible to kind of swap the locations of the shed and that picnic table area? Because I think, if you could kind of reverse the locations, that means that you're not impacting your parking, you're not taking down more trees. Would that be a viable alternative?
That area, the slopes, it's a little unlevel and unsteady, I would say, with that aspect. And then, the shimming you would have to do to make the dwelling level and stable for safety, it would be kind of jacked up on one side quite a bit. Also, like we said, I understand it's not the end of the world, but that we fastened that in with just some, my parents poured a little cement into a box or something to make a form, because what happens is the wind rushes up that lake so intensely during some of the thunderstorms we get during the summer, and it would blow it down and break it and stuff like that. And more or less it kind of interferes too. We like to watch the children. Obviously kids are a handful, and we try and have the best peripheral vision we can have to monitor them at all the times, because like any parent's fear with water and small children, you're always just trying to keep your eye on them like a hawk if possible. I do understand what you did say, though. It is a valid point, but just, due to the landscape and stuff, I think Carol could maybe back me up on that. I don't feel it would be the sturdiest location for what we would have to do to get the building to sit level, if that makes any sense.
I mean, having been there, I think it's true what Steve is saying. I guess, I think it's a lot of disturbance and modification for something that maybe you would consider as a temporary structure. I think the only other thing that I would throw out is just that I don't believe, the lot may be buildable in terms of its size, but I don't see this meeting any other setbacks for septic and well. I don't think it's going to be developed. I mean, I should never say never because you never know, but compared to the neighboring lots on Elm Road, it's 120 square feet of impervious area, and that's it. You know, I guess I don't know whether you can consider that as mitigation in any way, or if you'd like to.
Jim?
If we want to consider any kind of mitigation, maybe we can open that as another topic of discussion. I don't know what the waterfront water line is like there, but is there an area where it would benefit from a naturalized buffer along the lake end portion?
Or increased buffer.
It's pretty well vegetated. I think that if I understood Steve correctly from one of the first site visits I had there, is that they really like the vegetation and they would be happy to put in other plants. But I could let him speak to that.
Absolutely, Cal, you're correct. We love the vegetation. It adds to the, you know, the feeling of the lake itself that we do enjoy. Great shade as well. And as we did discuss before, when you were helpful enough to let me know what type of shrubbery and stuff it is there, we'd be more than glad to plant more shrubbery or anything that might help the, you know, the council feel good about their decision. We're completely on board with something like that, 100%.
Carol, did you see any place that might benefit from either an increased buffer or an initial?
Some restorative effort?
Right.
I think that they really have very little area on the shoreline. I think what I would need to see is sort of what their pathways are, so that if the dock, you know, they need to have access to the dock, but they certainly could have more vegetation on one side of the shed, which I think you can see. I don't know, if looking at these photos that are up there on the right-hand side, and then it's a very small, I don't know, Steve, would you say it's like 20 feet, maybe 25 feet, where your little beach area is?
Yeah, so you're talking, so if we're standing looking at the water, you're talking to the front right-hand corner with the kids, like that area of the beach?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we have, realistically, it's probably more like 15 feet at most of open access. And then, of course, there's the natural stone wall that runs the rest of the perimeter, which leads you to the dock area.
So I think if they were going to add vegetation, it would be to come up on the site, not necessarily on the shoreline, but I think they certainly could add vegetation. There's no doubt you could have more natural area.
Maybe some sort of a narrow walkway through that area with vegetation on both sides of it?
Yeah, the walkway to the dock, I'm thinking that section could definitely have more vegetation.
Okay.
Marilyn?
Okay, so Eric, are you satisfied with this?
I'd like to see, I mean, I'm not satisfied the way it is, but I'm hearing the discussion about some maybe potential, you know, restoration effort in places that might be sufficient mitigation for the shed being closer than what we typically would allow. And I don't mind exploring that. I just don't know what that would entail at this time.
Okay, so Carol, I hate to ask you again, but could you go back out there with him and come up with what he might be able to do for remediation?
Yeah, if everyone else is in agreement, I can certainly do that.
I am.
Okay, does everybody agree to that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay,
Peter?
all right. So Carol will go back out and we'll continue this to August 12th.
Okay, I think Margaret had another comment.
Well, and actually, it was a question because Steve had said something about a prior shed in this location, and I think if he's got any pictures of that showing kind of the historical, that might be
Maybe
something
helpful.
valuable to include in the conversation.
Right, I agree. Any kind of prior documentation of the shed would be good.
We will absolutely try and dig some up. I don't want to say a prominent yes that I can because it would, it was back in the 70s and probably the early 80s at the most, but I can 100% look through some old photo albums and stuff and hopefully dig up a picture to show you guys a little better what we were talking about, but I 100% will take a look if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so can I have a motion to move this, continue this to August 12th?
Mr. Chair, there was a hand raised briefly as well, if you
Okay.
want.
There was a hand, yeah. Who was it? I didn't see anybody.
When I raised my hand, it was just to be in agreement with the mitigation, if we could do that. Even though I'm for the continuity and everybody having the same standards, it feels a little bit of a hardship for me, and it also feels like it's been there for a very long time. So if we could have a mitigation, I might be persuaded to permit this.
Okay, I think it was the abutter. I think the abutter is the one who has the hand raised.
Yes, it keeps going up and down, so hold on. Mr. O'Neill, you're unmuted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I can't hear you. Okay. All right. Yeah, as far as the structure being there, we've been down here since 1973. We've never seen another structure on that property. So I don't believe there was ever a structure there. Secondly, I've got pictures of shrubs right near the water that were on my property that were cut by them. And we had talked to Carol about that. She came down. You can see the shrubs that they're actually sticking up out of the ground right now. You can see that they've obviously been cut, and they were cut right on the borderline. I'm not going to get into any personal situations, so leave those aside. Except to say that I've had 3 restraining orders against Steve, and
We don't want to hear about restraining orders. If you've got questions with the project, we want to hear. We don't want to hear about restraining orders.
The gravel, they put a small amount of gravel in when they first came in. They dug holes. They poured gravel into holes. But in July, then this happened a couple, 3 years ago. But in July of last year of 2020, they dumped Bobcat after Bobcat load, feet, not inches, but feet of gravel. And I know I look in your, I notice in your regulations that you have to get permission to fill in wetlands and stuff. This has caused water to pour over a butter's land and property and stuff. And it is a mess. And I sent Carol pictures of the before and after of where the water was, and now there's gravel there, and that's caused a major problem. Chapter 91, as far as the dock and the boat being removed and the mooring being removed, a letter of intent has to be filed before Daniel Padian, who's the Waterways Program Chief, will start doing anything with the dock and the raft. Right now, I measured the boat and the dock and the raft. The raft is 33 feet. The dock and the boat are 13 feet. Neither one of them would legally be permitted on the water right now. They both would have to be removed immediately. And this is a letter of intent. You can't go putting stuff out there before you get approval and permits. You can't drive a car without a license. You can't park in somebody's driveway. I sent Carol an email. It showed precisely that the mooring line and mooring and, is right in front of my property. The dock and the boat itself is also 30 feet from my property, but it's also in violation of the abutter next to him on that side. If you take, there's a 60-foot lot. He's got to have a 25-foot buffer on both sides. That leaves 10 feet. that makes the dock at -3 feet, okay? So that, in the dock and the boat would be illegal. The raft is completely illegal, it's 33 feet. Also, it's a vacant lot. It's in the law that it is a nuisance. The vacant lot, there is a raft there, there's no supervision. Kids can come by and get on that thing and jump off that thing. Kids get behind it. The thing is, it's on my property, so we can't even swim on 25% of my property because that thing is there. And it also causes my kids and my children, grandchildren, whoever nieces and nephews that I have down, they get behind that thing. You can't see them. It shouldn't be there. It should have been taken away a long time ago.
Well, that's got nothing to do with us, okay? I want to make this, I'm going to mute you because you're not going to listen. That has got nothing to do with us, okay? We have nothing to do with civil action here, okay? We're looking at him putting this shed in the dock in, okay? And that's what we're looking at. This has got nothing to do with civil action. It's got nothing to do with zoning. It's got nothing to do with the building inspector, okay? We're strictly talking about the shed here and the shoreline, okay? He still needs to go, once we issue an order of the conditions, he still needs to go to the state and get his Chapter 91.
On the other guy's property. And this law 91, Chapter 91 is excellent. It's for the respect of the neighbors and the love of neighbors and stuff. And not only that, but safety concerns and insurance and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it's.
Oh, that's got to do with the city. We don't issue the Chapter 91 license, okay? The state does.
This thing that he filed, and he said that he wasn't aware of any permits. He was told back on June 1st of 2019 by Detective Rogers, when he had his first incidents and when he got his first harassment protection order against him, that he had to have a permit. And he just went out a week later and put the raft back out into the water and right on our property and that. So he's
that's fine, but the raft's got nothing to do with us, okay? And once again,
program director of the waterways, Daniel Padian, has tried to contact him. He refuses to answer his phone calls, hasn't talked to him. He's known for.
Oh, okay, once again, you're going beyond the scope of this meeting. I'm muting you permanently. Can I have a motion to continue this public hearing to August 12th?
Second.
All in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Peter? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So Carol's going to go out one more time with you.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, good night now.
Good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a request to modify approved plan Newton, 36 West Street, 334-1606. Are you there, Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to describe to us what you want to modify on on your original plan?
Actually, on our original plan, we didn't have that propane tank on the property, and we had a gravel driveway that comes down and goes in front of the sheds. And I wanted to extend the gravel driveway to the right and to the left, going up the back part of the property, because now we had just a wall coming out for a frost wall, to build the property up. But I extended the wall back to make it flat when you come out of the house. There's a flat area. And that's a change that I made. And up the back of that, between the wattles and the thing, I wanted to put gravel in there up to the shed.
You moved the driveway around to the back of the house.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if this is going to be considered a minor modification.
It's not.
Yeah. I think you're going to have to file for an amendment.
I see. right.
That way it gets published as a public hearing again.
I see.
Okay.
Do we do it through your commission?
Do we what?
Who do we do?
Yeah.
Who do we do the
Well, Carol
filing through?
can tell you what paperwork has to be filed.
Oh, Carol will let us know?
Yeah, I can
She'll-
call you tomorrow and we can talk through it.
Okay.
Okay? So everybody
All
on
right.
the commission agree that he needs to
Yeah.
file an amendment on this?
Jim has something to say.
Say,
Yep, Jim?
I'm okay with an amendment, that'd be fine, but I need a better drawing or a better description of exactly what's going on. I really had a hard time. I could not tell what was being modified and what was being changed on the diagram.
Yeah.
Carol will go
Anytime
over
they will.
it. Yep.
Oh, we put everything in different colors. The
Right.
green is
Needs
for
to
the
be a
grass.
plan.
The green is the grass, and then just around the grass is where the wall is in the back.
Not clear.
Yeah, Carol will go over it with you, okay? If you talk to Carol, she'll give you a good idea of what we want to see. Okay?
Okay, all right.
All righty? Great.
Thank you.
And then do
Okay.
we come back and meet you again?
Carol.
You do, you're gonna have to file a notice, and yes, it will be done as another public hearing. This is just a kind of a discussion item because we're not gonna do a minor improvement on it. So you're gonna have another public hearing.
Modification of the order.
Yep. Okay? Carol will
Thank
go
you.
over everything with you. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we want to ratify 2 emergency certificates, Summer Village and Hawkins, 10 Lakeshore Drive South. Carol, can we approve both of these, right?
Yes, I've issued them.
Great.
Motion?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Eric?
yes.
Margaret?
yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And Peter, yes. Okay. The next agenda item is a proposed Eagle Scout project at Grassy Pond. Brian Klosterman, are you there?
He must be
Hello.
mute.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thanks. Give us a description of what you like to do.
I'd like to build an information kiosk at Grassy Pond for the visitors and residents of Westford.
Okay.
You know, I wanted to mirror one of them from East Boston camps, you know, as a representation.
Okay.
There is one post there that I would be removing and replacing.
Okay. So Carol, would this be outside the 100-foot?
I don't think it's in the parking lot, right? So I don't think that's within
Yeah.
100 feet of the wetland.
You don't think it is?
I don't think it is. I haven't
No,
measured
I
it,
don't-
but just,
I don't think it is either. I think it's well outside the 100 feet. Sounds like a great idea to me. Any comments from the commission?
Looks good.
That's good. Okay, you've got our approval.
Not gonna be stockpiling flyers or anything like that. It's gonna be these kind of posters inside the
Yeah, so
display.
we're going to be putting information, as you see here, about Grass Pond, about the life course, and about the habitat around it and the environment.
I would recommend emphasis on the environment around it and all that, and less on the life course. The life course, there's not much left of it.
Okay. Okay. But on the back, we do plan to have a corkboard back so people can post things, like let's just say car keys and lost dog. Because we noticed that a lot of things sticking onto trees. I didn't think it was, you know, actually really good for anything. So we thought we might as well put it there rather than on trees.
Carolyn?
You know what this is going to cost you, Ryan?
We're looking, it's costing around $300 to $350.
Not too bad.
Okay. You have ways of fundraising for that?
Yes, miss.
Okay, great. Are we good?
Yep.
We're good?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
good.
thanks very much. Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you.
A request for geocache in the Shelby Brook Conservation Area. Carol, is somebody here for that?
Hi, I think I might be unmuted. This is Dinah Esposito. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm coming from the other end of the scouting age range. I'm working with Westford Cub Scout Pack 100, and I actually had a question about a geocache and a related question for you. So we are, of course, with the COVID situation, trying to find ways to promote our Cub Scouts getting outside and enjoying the space that we have in Westford. One idea that we had is that we like to place a geocache, and I don't know if by show of hands the commission can say if you're familiar with geocaches. It seems like you might have. Okay, great.
Yep,
So it's,
yep, we've done several before.
Great. So you're familiar with the concept. This one would be on the near the parking at Trailside Way. The site that I found for it would be basically just off the path so that the younger Cub Scouts can access it without needing to go traipsing through anything. There's an area near a beginning of a rock wall that sort of has a marker of a tree stump nearby that could be used so that they can locate it without needing to go off the path too far. And it would sort of apply to standard geocaching rules in terms of no food, dangerous substances, anything like that, and instructions on the inside. I'm not sure what additional information would be helpful for the committee at this time.
Okay, do you have a more general specific area where you might be putting them?
Oh, sure. So specifically within the conservation area that has a parking space at Trailside Way, there are a couple of loops that go around the water there, just on marked trails. And the marked trails, I wasn't sure if I needed to send a map, so my apologies, but I probably should have done that in advance.
No,
just the trails that
no,
go
that's
off
okay.
there's- Sorry, I can't hear very well.
No, I think we're fine. Everybody fine with it?
Yeah, we're fine.
Roughly what size are you talking? A Tupperware, a quart-size container, something like that?
A quart-sized container. It's a recycled container from ice cream with a screw top that'll be covered in tape for marking.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
So can I ask a question too?
Yes.
Diana, if there's, I forget what geocaching, is it something that you remove after a certain period of time?
So my contact information is inside. If it needs to be removed at any point, it's posted on a website where the coordinates are available for people to go find it. So if at any time it needs to be moved, it can be removed at this point. If the commission would like to put an end date on it, I can, but usually they remain present for a while.
Well, I just don't like to keep plastic out there if it's not being used for the purpose that it was, put out there for.
Sure. Do you have a recommendation on how long you would like to leave it active before it's removed?
Well, it would seem if you're doing this with the Cub Scouts, it might be before they need to be Eagle Scouts. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Once these items are hidden away and then posted on the Geocache website, they're available to everybody that's got an account with geocaching. And so lots of people you'll get families going for a hike. You may get another Boy Scout group. You may get a different Cub Scout group. Girl Scouts may be looking for it. So anybody that wants to, I could, look it up and find the location and then head over there and see if I could find it. So it's not really
I just don't know if it has an end point and it becomes trash at some point. But if you think it's a continued,
well, the person that places is supposed to be responsible for making sure that it stays in reasonable condition and all that. And if they want, they can remove it, and they can also delete it off the website if they have the account that was used to establish it.
That's correct. And the account would be under my name, so I would be taking responsibility for maintenance of it. And in the event that I were to move away from Westford or anything like that, or be unavailable to maintain the cache, I would remove it from the website.
That's fine.
Remove the cache from the grounds.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, we're good. Thank you. We're good to go.
Thank
All
you.
righty. Let's see, let's do next. How about the minutes? Can we approve the minutes, you guys? You guys find anything wrong with the minutes from the June 10th and June 24th?
That's good.
Margaret
good?
had a couple comments for me that she's already sent me.
Yeah, they were, well, one of them was a minor editorial. The other one was with the treatment at Long Sought For Pond. What I wanted to add in was the fact the applicant had said the urgency was they wanted to treat it early to minimize the biomass that would need to degrade to avoid impacting the pond. And I thought that was information that was important to capture as to why we responded quickly and just kind of having a clearer picture of what was requested.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 10th and 24th as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Peter, yes. Okay, EBC water system. Carol?
So this morning I had a call from the DPW director, Steve Cronin. It's a new position. Was the former water superintendent. And he is recommending that the commission consider replacing the entire water system due to the number of leaks and that that they've been having to sort of deal with, and our facility manager has been dealing with. And I actually didn't get a chance to look back into the master plan to see whether there had been any discussion in the past about the water facility there.
No.
No.
Nope, nothing in there. There's nothing in there about the water system.
So if we were to consider it, it would be a pretty major overhaul and major expense. So I don't know whether we feel like we can continue to eke it out a little bit. The Umesh Patel, who's the facility manager, felt like, as far as this year goes, he's done a lot of repairs already. The water department did a repair last week on, I guess, at a spot that is their shut off. And he thought perhaps we were at the end of the line with repairs that would be needed for this year. We do have a program running all summer, and we've got right now scheduled every weekend booked in September and then through the first week of October. So if we were to try to do anything, it would have to be, at the end of the period of time that we've got rentals or it's in use, unless you decided it was urgent and you wanted to make a change to it immediately. I mean, we definitely have had undetected leaks, and we have had to pay, considerable money for it. And, obviously with drought and water usage, we don't want to be doing that conservation wise. But I just wanted to alert you to the situation, and if you feel like you want to get some more information about it, I could try to get Steve to give me something more. But
well, I just want to be clear here. I mean, he's talking about replacing the main water lines. I mean, the leaks in the building that UMesh has to fix are never going to go away, because those happen every year, because you can never get all the water flushed out of the pipes inside the building. So he's talking about replacing all the water mains going to the facility buildings. Correct, Carol?
I think you're right, because he did talk about it. If it was to be replaced, it would go up. His recommendation would be to go up along the edge of the road.
Right. Okay.
Do we know what the costs are associated?
But I think he was talking about all the lines, to be honest, because he was talking about the difficulty of it around the septic system and all the other sort of infrastructure that's out there.
Yeah, but we're not talking about replacing the plumbing inside the buildings. We're talking about the water main lines that.
Right. I don't think he was talking about plumbing, but I didn't ask him that.
Right. All right. Marilyn?
We have a dollar figure on that?
His guesstimate was between 20 and 30,000.
How much? 30,000?
Yeah, 20 to 30. He didn't know exactly.
Yeah. Marilyn?
I just wondered whether or not it would be considered maintenance and we couldn't do it with CPC funds, or whether that's something we could look at. We might make an inquiry.
We can look at it, but I've got a feeling it's going to be maintenance, but we can look at it.
I can always ask.
Yeah, just ask. That's right. I mean, I think it's important that we get another camp operator in there first, because, you know, with no income coming in, we're going to be spending down our revolving fund. There's a ton of money in the revolving fund right now, so it's not an issue. But if we want to go ahead and look at some design plans that he can come up with, that's fine. But I don't think we should commit this until we see if we can get another operator all the time to help pay for it.
Yeah, we've had problems with the underground water line since we bought the property, back when George Fletcher was the caretaker. The lines are old copper. They've been rinsed and washed and ground against by the movements of the soil, by acid rains over the decades, and it's only going to get worse.
Jim, it's not copper, it's plastic. It's they're all plastic too.
Oh, some of it I thought was copper.
Huh?
I thought we had some copper in there still.
No, I think all the main lines are plastic.
Really?
They're all plastic lines. They're like plastic. I have the same thing at my camp. You know what I mean? They're not buried very far in the ground either. They're only down a couple of feet mostly.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think if he can come up with a some kind of design plan, Carol, can do, that we don't have to spend a lot of money on.
Yeah, I don't know. He was talking about it having to be done by a professional, but I can talk to him some more and get a little bit more feedback from him before we, get too far into it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right,
Can you
review the
excuse me
notes
for
up.
just 1 minute,
What?
Peter?
Yeah.
I just need to run and close the windows. It's pouring here at my house. That's the one.
Go for it. We have some thunder down here going on too. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. I think my phone's running out of juice now.
Jim, how's that hand holding out?
Oh, you're muted. Jim, you're muted.
It hurts, but I got to keep exercising it all the time.
Yeah, I can see.
Can you squeeze a ball or something with it? Would that help?
Not yet. I can't. It's like I got to just squeeze it like this as best I can.
Yeah, I got that. I understand that.
Jim, how about a 12-ounce curl? Does that still work? Or
the cold feels good.
Carol's got a lot of windows.
I guess so.
That's a really big house.
Oh, geez.
I got my lightning detector laying on the floor here next to me. That's the dog that caused the handbrake.
There you go.
He does not like lightning.
Sorry about that.
Jack. Okay.
That's okay.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. So no dumping sign, Carol. So you came up with Bill Harmon had sent you a, something that he had written up. Like, have you guys all seen those? There we go. Okay. So this is Carol's original one.
That's why I
You
was
have
asking.
Bill's? Carol,
What's that?
do you have the one Bill sent?
Yeah, Matt has it actually. I think he can get it up.
It's a nice, sweet sign that's not going to affect anyone.
Is
Yeah,
that
so
the one?
this is the one that, that Bill had. I don't have any of them, so I don't know if Bill Turner had originally, purchased some and gave them out, but
No.
that's
no,
not our
I
phone
don't
number.
think so.
No, yeah, really.
Yeah. Marilyn?
Okay, I feel that this has been an ongoing problem. Jim's reported on it more than once. And that even though I like the looks of this sign, the green and the naturalness, that it's absolutely achieved nothing to have these signs there. So that I really would rather see the idea on it that there's a fine attached to this, that we're not fooling around, and that this is something that people have to think about because they really can cost them money for breaking the law. I think we have much better effect with that. The fact perhaps the highway came down and also helped us by blocking some of that area for dumping the leaves. I don't go for the other sign because I don't think they'll be effective.
Any other comments?
Agree with Marilyn.
I like the sign that Carol came up with because it's very clear, it's unambiguous, it's not leaving anything to open to interpretation.
Yep.
Okay.
Including get punished.
Okay.
I'm
Should
good
there
with
be
it.
a phone number
Okay.
or a contact on this sign as well?
Sure, I can add that.
What are you going to put, Carol? The office phone number?
I would put the main office number.
Okay.
Give him
Sounds
Jim's
good.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I won't
our
do
future
that.
ranger. Okay, sounds good. All right. All right, so we're going to move on to our last item, which is an interview with Noelle Determan. Noelle, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so you've applied for our open position, and why don't you, since this is an open meeting, why don't you just give a brief background on yourself and why you'd like to be on the commission?
Sure. Well, I am the fourth generation in my family to live in town. I have a young daughter who's now the fifth generation to live here. This is definitely our home. This is where my roots are, and this is where I'm planning on staying. And very interested in conservation and keeping our natural resources clean and healthy. And I'm in school right now for environmental science because that is what I'm passionate about. And I'd just like to get involved more with the town and my local community in trying to preserve our water and our natural resources. So that is why I've applied for the position.
Okay. Members from the commission, I'm sure you'd like to ask some questions of her. Why don't we start with Margaret?
Well, and this question goes back to what I've asked people in the past who have interviewed be a commission member. Some people are really good at the details. Other people kind of see the big picture and they like to kind of work things at a high level. We need both kinds of people, and I'm curious if you see yourself as more focused in one area rather than the other.
Well, I like to look at the big picture on things, but I realize that it's not black and white in any situation. There has to be a compromise, and the best compromise, nobody really leaves there getting exactly what they want. So I understand that there's room for a compromise in any situation, and I'm hoping that I can find a way to work with members of the community that come before the board to not just, tell them this is the way it is and that's the way it needs to be, but try to figure out a compromise in situations that also protects the natural resources, but gives the community a sense of they're heard and that we are willing to work with them.
Okay. Eric?
Welcome, Noelle. I guess one of my questions would be, okay, you're interested in the Conservation Commission. Can you tell me anything about the Wetlands Protection Act or a local wetlands bylaw?
So I know that we have over, I think it's 2,100 acres of town-owned land that's currently in conservation. The Westford Wetlands bylaw, created in the late 80s, states that anything within 100 feet of a wetland needs to be protected, and I believe it's 200 feet of perennial streams is also protected. We have, I believe there's around 70 permanent conservation restrictions in town. The wetlands protection protects things like floodplain, banks, streams, lakes and ponds, marshes, vernal pools.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, appreciate that.
Yeah. Marilyn?
I just wondered if you had an opportunity to watch any of our meetings other than coming to this one tonight. In the days when we didn't have to do everything virtually, many of us sat in the audience for a while and sort of digested the kinds of things we did. Have you had an opportunity to observe us at work or to watch on CAT any of the meetings?
Unfortunately, I have not had an opportunity to go to a meeting personally, but I was actually living on the Cape for the past few years, and I was involved in the Harwich Conservation Trust down there as a steward, and my partner was on the Conservation Commission down there and still is, and so I was very involved down there, and since I've been up here, everything has been virtual. So I've been following the meetings every week since I've been up here, but unfortunately I was not able to actually go to any.
No, but you followed them, so that's good. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Jim?
Noelle, how would you set a balance, or how would you try to balance the interests of property owners that have bought a piece of property and have been paying taxes for years and years with their rights to do what they want with their property, to the restrictions on it from the Wetlands Protection Act or the town's non-zoning wetlands bylaw?
Well, I would try to, I understand their point that this is my land, I should be able to do what I want with it, but I would try to explain to them that it is indeed their land, but we're a community, and everything that we do with our own property has an effect on the community, especially when there are natural resources like wetlands involved, and try to just get them to understand that every action has a reaction, and there are reasons for these rules and regulations, and it's not to try to get anybody to not be able to do what they want on their property. It's just to protect everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Nicole. I'm glad you applied. In your experience, what has been most valuable in working with people to help bring groups to agreement?
I spent 14 years of my life doing hospice care and home health care, and in doing that, not only was I working with my clients, but I ended up being sort of a mediator and a little bit of a therapist for the family members involved Let's see, trying to think of a specific example of, there's a lot of, in situations like that, when there's an elderly parent, there's a lot of siblings that are arguing about the care of that parent. And everyone has, they have all had past experiences of issues within themselves that really don't have anything to do with the current situation with the parent. So just trying to get them to put their differences aside and focus on who really is in, who really should be focused on in that moment. I did that a lot in my career, and I feel like that would help me be able to be a bit of a mediator in situations that the Conservation Commission deals with.
Thank you. I think that is a tough role as mediator.
Thank you. And my name is Noelle. A lot of people call me Nicole.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So Noelle, I just have a couple of things. One is that most of us here have taken training courses from the Massachusetts Conservation Association, and I just wanted to ask you, are you willing to participate in some of these courses? Generally they're very good. They give a lot of overview of the Wetlands Protection Act, and it does go into individual local bylaws also. And so they have those usually twice a year, the courses. So would you be willing to partake in those?
I would be very eager to partake in those. I've been doing a lot. A lot of what I know is self-taught, and I'm always willing to learn more and more about conservation. So I would definitely be willing to do that.
Okay, great. Okay, any other questions from the panel?
I got one.
Yep. Eric?
Do you have the ability to give the type of time it takes to be a commission member?
Absolutely. I'm a stay-at-home mom with one daughter, and I'm taking one class a semester. So I've really set up a schedule for myself so that I could make this possible. I really feel like I do have enough time to do this.
Okay, yeah, we meet
That
twice
sense
a
of
month.
dedication and commitment.
Yep.
Yes, I definitely have dedication and commitment.
Yeah, because most of us have been on this board for quite a while. Eric's been on there about 25 years. Marilyn and I have been on for 20 years.
21.
I know, Jim, we've been 8 years now, Jim?
It's 8 to 10, something like that.
Yeah, and Margaret's on her second go around. And Ann's been here a long time too. So
yeah.
Okay, so the next step is for us to forward a recommendation onto the Board of Selectmen, and they are actually the ones that make the appointment.
Okay.
All righty.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you very
Oh,
much for
thank you.
applying. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn?
I just wanted to say about recommendations. The recommendations that I've been forwarding them to Sam for Board of Selectmen recommendations, and it's like 8 or 10 days before the actual meeting. So tomorrow,
Okay.
deadline for the next meeting. But if you want to do it for the following one, you can give it to me like in the next week after we take a vote or something. And then we
Okay. What would you guys like to do? Talk this over at the next meeting, or have you made up your minds now after interviewing Noelle? It's not like we don't have a lot of people on board that have signed up.
I personally wouldn't mind having another woman on board and someone who's young and interested, and certainly her answers tell me that she's at least been involved in different ways, by the groups that she's affiliated with. I could take my vote now.
I'm good with giving Noelle an opportunity.
Okay. Margaret, Jim? Yep, Ann, yes?
Yes, no, mine.
Okay, so Carol, can you write up a recommendation letter to the Board of Selectmen?
Will do.
Carol, if you
Okay.
get that to them tomorrow, if you get that to Sam tomorrow, she can get it on the agenda for the following month. Because I've just sent her the ones that.
Okay, I will check with her in the morning.
Right. You would just need it in writing.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
They will.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Eric?
yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Ann?
Yes.
And Peter, yes. I won't be
Okay.
at the next meeting, Eric, so you're in charge.
No, I'm
And-
there. I'll
And you guys
coordinate
will
with
stop by
Carol.
to see me tomorrow?
1:30, I'll be there.
Yep.
Okay, and
That's
Marilyn
1:50.
early.
And Mayor,
I'm gonna see Matt.
Okay, that's
I'll give
fine.
you a call.
What time?
1:15.
1:30? What time are you gonna be there?
Well, Margaret needs to be there at 1:15,